to my heartbeat sound. We fell in love as the leaves turn brown, and we could be together.
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please have a seat. It's kind of nice and homoerotic with the sort of I met you this summer and my family love and so forth. Guys, very welcome to the Sign PropTech Summit. I'm Ola.
I'm Magnus.
And we are kind of nerdy when it comes to trying to figure out what happens in the real estate, cities, buildings, bricks, and technologies of the future. You know probably more about that than almost anybody else. You've been working in this field for quite some time. Could you just break it down for us a little bit? Who are you?
Oh, yes. So my name is Magnus Svantegard. I'm working at Stronghold and one of the portfolio companies, Dacia. I've been doing so for the last close to 18 years as head of product. So yeah, this is something I get quite nerdy about. So.
And Dacia is what is today called the big data, AI, and all the other things, but it was doing the same things 18 years ago, so you were very early on. What do you see when you look at sort of PropTech? What are some of the most interesting fields that you see?
Well, one interesting thing is that there's never been such an interest in PropTech as of today. I mean, in one way you can say it's the fourth wave. There's one in the 80s, there was one late 90s, mid 2000, and now it's for sure the fourth wave. So there's an enormous amount of interest among not just startups that see an opportunity, but also from the bricks and mortar companies, the large real estate companies, the funds. And they are really, really eager to be both more professional inside the company, but also really, really trying to understand how it will affect their business. For example, if you own a large retail portfolio, you are really, really eager to understand if it's under a threat or possibilities. And that's something new, because 10 years ago it was hard to get to meet the management.
And from my perspective, I've been working with startups and scale-ups all my life. And up until a couple of years ago, very few said, do you know anybody in the real estate industry? Now, that's one of the most common questions, and there's a property technology lab. And we've also, with you guys in the lead, started the Nordic PropTech initiative. What is that?
Exactly, so that's one of the reasons why we're here, actually, why we created this event, is that about a year ago, me and a few colleagues were traveling to different events all around the globe, PropTech events or real estate fairs, and quite a few other regions like UK, US, and so on were showing up more like a community, and together made a large display of what they could deliver. And we said, why can't we do that in the Nordics? That's why we started the Nordic PropTech initiative. There's two reasons. One is to get PropTech companies together to learn from each other and really enthusiasm each other to actually go international. And also for the larger real estate market to have one source to go to find information about PropTech companies. So really trying to merge that together. And that's what we see here today. And last year, it's roughly 50-50 PropTech companies and real estate companies here today. So it's fantastic.
And it's kind of cool because first, in one dimension, it increases efficiency. You don't have to go check on something that doesn't need to get checked. But then in the other dimension, it could be completely new business models. I mean, in one dimension, Epicenter is a new PropTech venture. We have a completely different business model than a traditional rental model, where you don't really care about anything else than square meter and price. And the technologies that are moving, and I don't know if you've seen Nava that I love over there. It's a flower wall that in a super high speed makes air a lot better. So it sucks in air in great quantities, and it's like having 1,000 plants, which you just have this little wall. And so many things going from the little to the big to the megalomaniac, like for instance, Hyperloop. Stockholm, Helsinki in 22 minutes. How does that impact real estate? Or some of the other things that you'll see here today. Morten Lund is going to share his vision for building houses that instantly can pop up and disappear and change the way we look upon suites and living forever, if he's right. So we're going to go from the very tangible things you can do on Monday to inspirational cases, to cases where you have to make up your mind yourself. Is it vision or is it hallucination? So, you've invited some interesting guests. Shall we bring our first guest, and who is she?
Absolutely. So the first guest we brought from UK is Georgita, founder and CEO of Guyana, which is a very, very impressive AI system and they are just starting to explore the possibilities to bring this to the real estate market. So welcome, you, Ethan.
Very welcome. Lita, the stage is yours.
Okej. Ja, så det här.
Okay. Hi everyone, delighted to be here. What a terrific audience. But before we talk about myself or my company, just because it's so lovely out here and Stockholm is beautiful, I'm told it's like this every May. I don't completely buy that, but I'm told it's true. So we're going to talk about ice creams and beach, yeah? Nice. Okay, so please play along with me. This is going to be a fun question. So let's say you have a beach. It's straight and long. Let's say the length of this just simplify. And it's evenly distributed with people. So there's equal number of people along this beach. And you're going to set up a stall that sells, I don't know, lollies. I like lollies, I'm a vegan, so. So where are you gonna set it up? In this beach, your one stall. You could do it right there at the one of the ends. If that's your answer, hold on to it, don't need to know. You can do it smack in the center, or you can do it 1/3 or 2/5 or 1/7 along the way. There are many options, think about your answer, okay? Don't tell it to your neighbor. Right, that's one stall. Now you have 2 ice cream stalls. Okay, you've turned up and your cousin Jerry also has an ice cream stall. And he started selling the exact same thing you do. You're not happy, but he's doing it. And you both look at each other and you're like, what? Okay. Now there's 2 of you. Where are you gonna place both of you? So this is good for both of you. And I'm gonna give you a couple of options, okay? So one option is, both of you go to the 2 ends. So you're gonna be here, Jerry's gonna be there, and everyone goes half and half. The second option is you both come smack in the center, and everyone comes half and half. The third option is you're gonna be here, half, and Jerry's gonna be here, half. Okay. So I'm gonna give you the options, and everyone, let's raise your hands. Option 1. You and Jerry are going to be at the 2 ends. Nobody. Option 2, you are both going to be halfway from both ends. Option 3, you are going to be both in the center. Okay. Oh, brilliant mix of people. I didn't need to tell you anything, you just know everything. Okay, here's the complicated things. Now you have Amanda, 3rd day, she's also turned up, and she's also selling lollies. Now there's 3 of you, and it's this thing, okay? How are you gonna distribute yourselves? Okay, I'm gonna help you out a little bit here. So, here's the question that I asked you. It's an evenly populated beach. Where are you gonna put 1 ice cream, 2 ice cream, and 3 ice cream sellers? So it turns out, if you have 2 ice cream sellers on the beach, 1, you place yourself in the center, so everyone's evenly distributed. Even if you don't know it right away on day 1, say some of you don't, or you're just, too much of a hangover the night before, just set it up in the corner, you'll figure it out in a week where you need to be. But if you have 2, what first happens is, this is SOS, socially optimal solution, that's what the economists call it. You will kind of divide yourself into 2 halves, and you will end up being in the center of that half, both of you, either said or unsaid agreement. It'll happen in a few days. So what will happen is Jerry gets 25% here and 25% here, and you get 25% here or 25% there. But given the nature of competitiveness of sellers, it is seen almost universally. One fine day you'll turn up, and Jerry's been to the beach a bit earlier than you, and he's at the extreme end of his boundary. So he has 50% and 25%. So next morning, you're going to be 20 minutes even earlier than him, and you're going to be at the edge of your boundary because you want this and this, because he did that. So it's very soon going to happen that you're going to do this a bit, and the equilibrium will be, you will both be smack in the center. And that is why competitors usually place themselves right next to each other. This is very famously also called the Nash equilibrium, that a very smart Nash gentleman studied. He's no more, unfortunately. However, if you have 3 stalls, it's an unstable equilibrium, and many other things happen. So basically, this is what Nash found out in his entire life. So if you have to do this, place competitors in a very advantageous position, you can hire John Nash, or you could use machine learning. That's going to find out all of this by simply studying the data on the competitive behavior of all possible commercial properties in seconds, hours, or days, depending upon how good your stack and infrastructure is and who you hired to do that. So that's kind of what Gyana does. Gyana is Sanskrit for knowledge. We get knowledge out of big data, and we started saying the word big data when it didn't even exist. And we do that from terabytes. Right. So I'm going to quickly show you about me and my co-founder David. We were both studying in Oxford doing our postgrads, and that's when we decided to make the company. Majority of the company are our friends from the rest of the university. David and I are both serial entrepreneurs. We've built and sold startups in our undergrads. I worked in the Silicon Valley quite a long time before I moved to UK. And this is between both of us the fourth startup. And we wanted to take all this data together and empower real estate and a lot of retail. So that's us. I think we've kind of established big data as knowledge. If you had any doubts, I just proved to you how quickly you can get enormous knowledge from a large quantity of data that one gentleman did in his entire lifetime with an IQ of 180. And you know that consumers are leaving big data everywhere through many different mechanisms. If you combine that with the help of advanced algorithms, specifically machine learning, which is what we do, you can find out who these consumers are, where they go, and what else they do. And this is a very massively important component of pricing, evaluation, expansion, void analysis, buy, sell side strategy of brands, etc. So that's Gyana. We are a SaaS tool. I've used real screenshots because we've been operational for about 2.5 years now. And we currently have in excess of 40 customers across the world, 7 European countries, and quite a lot of US, majority of them in UK. And these are real screenshots because I wanted you to see how easy it is to use the platform, as that was the main challenge we wanted to solve. You'd think our main challenge is machine learning and big data, but no. It turns out the biggest challenge was designing the output, because we were selling to an audience who don't want to waste time learning coding and Tableau. You have a meeting with the CEO tomorrow. You want a strategy today. You want to quickly run by the numbers. You want to see the top 10 spots that is possible to expand and bring it up in tomorrow's meeting. Are you going to spend 3 weeks learning Tableau, hiring a data science intern overnight? Are you going to do it on your phone in 10 minutes and go and say, ABC, I think we should look at one of them. That's what Gyana does. So what can you know with Gyana? You can know customer journey for all commercial spots. You can see the number of people who cross that area, where they go. If they're at Zara, did they go to Donuts before? Did they go to H&M afterwards, etc.? You can see competitive intelligence, which is, I don't know, are all the Starbucks in the street competing with each other or another coffee shop? You can see loyalty, how many people return, what is their affluence level, what neighborhoods they live in, how far they drive, etc. So that's basically how Gyana works. You quickly add a brand in any country or territory. You quickly see their breakdown by segmentation. You can see who are their competition, deep dive into any particular competition you like, see the distribution over time, etc. This is a very interesting thing that I thought Magnus was very interested in today when I was showing it to him. You can actually see how far people work and live, and how many tourists live nearby, far, and what hotels they live in. And this is extremely exciting when you're valuing what you should potentially charge as the lease or the rent, given where your property is. So those are some of the real screenshots of real customers who are working with us. This is active and live for over 6 months now. This is Vodafone, one of our data providers as well as customers. They place their stores with the help of Gyana. They figure out where they want to place them. And one of the interesting things of Gyana is it's also equally good for brands themselves. So if you find your Vodafone and almost everyone in one particular store of yours banks with Santander, then maybe there's a great cross-sell opportunity. So how do we do this? I'm about to tell you everything about our IP, but no. So we have 2 proprietary IP, and we are filing a bunch of patents, which take a long time to process. So we have something called the interaction graph. One part of it is a very deep understanding of boundaries and attribution of physical land, and the other part of it is human behavioral understanding from telecom and location and movement data. Both are real time. And then they marry each other, and then you exactly know how people are interacting with places. And that's kind of what we do. This is a quick snapshot of some of our customers, not all. And that's about it. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So what we will do is we'll take the questions afterwards because there will be ample time to speak with all the speakers afterwards, and maybe even get a drink a little bit later. So thank you very much for that. And I would, with that, like to invite the next speaker up. He's picked a very, very cool company name. If you're a UK-based company, it's called Kontor. It means office in Swedish, so all the Swedes get very proud. But he's also found an exciting niche where he's unlocking the creativity inherent in buildings and making people understand where creativity resides. So please give it up for Luke Appleby from Kontor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Joita, sorry. Just wrap this. Like Joita, one of the best bits of coming to Stockholm is not only the amazingly good-looking people, fashionable, amazing weather, but also it means I don't have to explain the company name and translate it. So hopefully you all know what the hell we do. The other thing is I've stolen even your Swedish colours for the logo as well. So I thought you might as well go the whole hog and just take it all. The good thing in the UK, no one has a clue, so it's really proprietary and really cool. So, unlike Joita, who's super techie, I'm more property, less techie. So this is the extent of my presentation on slide. Unfortunately, you're going to have to listen to me talking. But in short of it, we're going to just be running through obviously offices, a quick snapshot about the whole sector and where I really think and why I'm so excited about the whole PropTech, having met Magnus a number of times and chatted about it all the time, is that I think really now we're in this unique moment where the office market in particular is just purely ripe for change and disruption. Before we get into, and we'll touch on some of the things in there, but before we get into it, the top one's probably a fair question to ask about who the hell am I and what am I doing here. So a quick bit of background. I've been in the commercial real estate industry for just under 10 years, all of that predominantly based in London with CBRE, 5-6 years in the central London office market, and then a year out in Shanghai, over in China as well. It wasn't rocket science to sort of see during that period as well. There was a real sort of whole cultural economic, social shift, you know, what people wanting from their office spaces, the rise in everyone wanting to start their own startups, all this sort of stuff. And it was really exciting. We were just sat at our desks and there was just more and more startups coming across, and we're like, dude, my co-founder and I, and we're just like, there's no one out there. There's no one out there looking after these startups, scale-ups, new businesses to try and find them these new interesting office spaces. We tried to do it internally at CBRE, loved them to bits. Didn't quite work, like the old saying, it's like turning an oil tanker, and we wanted to try and be a bit of a speedboat. So we left, set up Kontor, with the primary aim of finding amazing office space for awesome companies. We've done it since 2014, 3.5 years. We found over 1.5 million square feet, which is, I think you guys work in square meters, which is about 150,000 odd. Over 300 clients, won a few awards in the UK, which is lovely, but it's working with everyone from small startups, 1 to 2 desks, all the way up to big multinationals, iZettle, a couple of billion-dollar fintech companies in the UK, Monzo, Revolut, Virgin, Media, Jaguar Land Rover, these types of clients, just to find them some new interesting space. And the hope is, as a business, look, we want to double in size with 15 people. We want to double in size in the next year or two, expand into New York, international markets across Europe and stuff. Now, all of this sounds, we're here on a tech conference, right? This sounds very linear. This just sounds like a typical brokerage model, and to be fair, it is. And that sort of leads me on to the next point. It's like, you know, the amount of times I've been told the death of the agent. I mean, if I'd had 100 krona for every time I'd had heard that saying, Magnus, I'd be in the archipelago on my boat rather than stood here with all sort of due respect. But I think that there's a lot of reasons behind that, and there's a couple that I'll touch on. Is in the UK especially, and I'm not saying that that's the case here. I don't know the Swedish market as well, but in the UK, in New York, America, etc., there hasn't been a simple marketplace that's tech platform that has been able to encompass all. 2 reasons. One, you've got the incumbents, CVs, Jones Lang, Cushman's and Wakefield. Now, it's kind of like it's kind of like the turkey that voted for Christmas. Why would I ever give my data to anyone else, right? So it's very unstructured data. Just think of all the little different lists of properties, all the different spaces, all the different variables, etc. God knows CoStar have tried. They've done all right in the States. They haven't done so well in Europe, and so much so the big incumbents are obviously building and protecting that moat even further by hooking up and building their own sort of research database in the UK using EGI research sort of platform. But the second biggest thing, and I think it really stands us in good stead, and why, and we're hearing this from the horse's mouth, is very much down to risk. The risk factor is I can go out, and as we all know, I can use absolutely anything, or order anything on my phone, my lunch, my Uber, whatever. Why can't I do my office move, etc.? And the hope is ultimately, we will be able to. But currently, the problem is I'm happy with renting a place, renting a flat or something on my phone. I can get that. Buying a place, it's taking a little bit more of a leap of faith. When I'm spending millions of pounds or kronas in rent roll per annum, at the very least, this is what our clients are telling us, is that I want someone at the end of the phone that I want to be able to blame. I want someone that I want to be able to consult and to give me the advice. And ultimately, it's someone that they know that when they're reporting up to, whether it's CEOs, co-founders or whatever, is that they've been through currently, they know they've got market expertise in that period of consultation. So that's where we're at the minute. And I think for us, the tech piece is not so much disrupting this broker model. For us, it's being complementary and bringing that tech piece into the business to make it much more of a hybrid model. So what do I mean by that is bringing in AI in terms of bots, bringing in VR 360, bringing in blockchain to process leases and data and stuff. None of that's rocket science. It's coming. I think we're making sort of small strides, fast strides, but trying to sort of get there. And you're seeing it a lot more in the residential market. So you're probably familiar maybe with some of the UK companies, Purple Bricks, eMove, just bought another company I saw this morning for 100 million UK sterling. They're the hybrid type model in the residential market. In the US, it's the likes of Compass, who $1 billion residential kind of agency, combining the best of both worlds with real people and technology. And you're seeing it as well coming into the commercial real estate sector. So a company over in the US, friends of ours, called The Square Foot as well. Check them out, they're really good guys. Just raised $7 million. Leads us on to the next bit. So I sort of briefly touched on it, the economic, social, physical kind of change of spaces. Basically, what's going on in the market? What are our clients saying? What are we seeing in the UK? What are we seeing abroad? And I think we've seen a huge shift away from what people want from their offices, and it's no longer the big shiny glass box tower and the long leases, the expensive fit outs. Every single day we get asked by our clients for offices on demand as much as possible, flexibility, all inclusive, fit out included obviously in that. No hassle, I want minimal barriers to entry. Why do I have to pay 6 to 12 month rent deposit? Why can't I just pay 1 or 2 months and be in and done with that? And that's, we're seeing a lot of that within our own stats, within our own business, just reaffirm, just to put some colour and context behind it. When we first started, 70% of our business was taking traditional leases, 3 to 5 years in terms of lease length. They would then go out and do their fit out and whatnot. Now it's the complete reverse. 70% of the businesses that we work with, they all want the flexible service officer. This isn't rocket science, and we'll get onto it. We're in one of the buildings that obviously does it. But I think one of the stats that I was really sort of amazed me when I was doing a little bit of prep for this was of the 400,000 businesses there are in London, 86% are between 1 and 10 people. 97% of that 400,000 are between 1 and 50 people. So you can really see whether, and that's shifted dramatically over time towards this, is that you can really see where the market's going in terms of the whole freelance market, much more SME, small, medium enterprise businesses. So I think there's a real shift and a real exciting time to be in the market. Also, what that means is that from a business and a broker's perspective within the commercial real estate opportunities, and for anyone out there that's sort of part of the tech piece or wanting to get into it, is that therefore in that particular model and instance, is the data is much more structured. So i.e. it's the same building, it's the same pictures, it's the same 360, etc. All that really changes is the sort of number of desks in there. So therefore you can use AI much more efficiently, which is something we're exploring. So take that one step forward. So if I'm a landlord, what the hell do I need to be doing? What's happening? You know, all these changes, all those impacts, what's going on? Not only is it that obviously now you need a sort of cool, really interesting, well-designed space, I would probably hasten to guess that's probably not a problem here. In the UK, there are unbelievably still really boring offices getting sort of built and developed. But I think the really big point, and I really kind of want to stress, is the service element. Magnus and I, a very good friend, you might have come last year, Anthony Slumbers kind of coined the term space as a service. And for me, for any sort of really successful business, it comes down to three things. One, a super great product. Your space is cool, your space is great, whatever. Secondly, brand. I think brand is super, super important. No longer can you be the sort of the landlord that just sat on the sidelines and wasn't really necessarily didn't have much of a sort of a brand presence. But most of all was delivering exceptional customer service. So I think for me it's those really sort of those three things that are key to anything, and everything is driving much more towards this kind of hospitality piece. Much more like hotels, Nobu, Hilton, you know exactly what you're going to get. Now, there's a really good little startup that you might know, a company called WeWork. $20 billion valuation, very good friends of ours, client of ours. We found all their buildings in London and across Europe. They're doing great things in this particular market. They've just acquired another 1 million square feet in London, taking their total to 2 million square feet in London. Oh, and they want more space. Scary, right? So if I'm sat there as a landlord and you might think, well, that's fine, I've done a 20-year lease to those guys, therefore I don't need to worry about it, I'll take the rent, in my opinion. Reason being is, you combine WeWork with all the others. In London, they acquired flexible service office operators. They acquired between, depending on who you listen to, 30 to 40% of take-up in London last year. Part of my mind is saying, hang on, this is sounding like a bit of a bubble. But let's park that for one side, because I think the shifts, what we're seeing, is actually really underpinning that. The big piece is that I think you're getting, that space isn't disappearing. That 30-40% is just being repositioned, redesigned, and put back out into the market. So when I might have got rid of one building to WeWork or whoever, Epicenter, etc. When I come to my second and third building that I designed to let to the SMEs and everyone, who's there to take it? In London? No one. We've tried. We've been working with the landlords and everything. They're all going into the service office, flexible office world. This isn't companies that are 5 to 10 people either. Like I mentioned, there is still that remaining 3% that are 50 and above. We're working with probably 5 or 6 companies at the minute that are 100, 150, 200 in size, size companies that want all-inclusive, flexible space. The best bit is they're willing to pay for it, provided they're willing to pay that premium for that all-inclusive bit, for that flexibility, for the sort of minimal barriers to entry, which is great news, because if you're a landlord and you're able to tick all those boxes, you can make even more money. Now, the other thing that I'd be worrying about if I'm a landlord is, well, WeWork, everyone else, we'll just use them as an example. They own the whole customer journey. They own the whole customer experience. You ask any of the tenants and they'll be like, who's the landlord? They don't have a clue. The thing is, as well, is what happens when those companies start buying buildings. WeWork have just bought Devonshire Square, a large swathe in London, which is over £500 million. All of a sudden, what's the point with the REITs? What's the point with the British lands, the land securities, etc., when everyone else is disrupting it? Well, this is the exciting bit in terms of where the market is fighting back. The incumbents are fighting back. British land security, GPE, even the Queen, the Crown Estate, she's getting in on the act in terms of providing this flexible workspace as well. So I think it's a really interesting time where you're going to see that typical squeeze of the middle, the co-working and the service office operators, if you're not big, you've got to go small, right? And because you're not going to get the stock because the British Land, everyone else are coming in and they're providing this space as well. So the alternative is, and this comes on to the sort of the market opportunities, just sort of wrapping up, is for me, I think within the co-working world, I think you've got to be either big, you know, the WeWorks have got deep pockets, they'll compete. You go niche. For niche, in the co-working world, for me, that's different, that's specific verticals you're seeing in the UK. I'm sure it's the similar. Hey, Ministry of Sound rolling out their own music-specific co-working space. You're seeing fashion-specific space, robotics, etc., etc. You're seeing The Wing, another client of ours. They're coming into the UK, 4 or 5 out in the US, and their specific is female only. 16,000 members on the waiting list to get in. It's a pretty good niche. So anyway, wrapping up quickly, the other big market opportunities, we talked about service. The big one is space as a service. Okay, who's coming in? Notel Industrious, check them out. Just raised $70 million. They work with the landlords. If you haven't got the team to upskill and do it, work with these guys. They'll come in, they're working across Heinz's portfolio, etc. They will be and provide that space as a service. You share in the upside, they'll share in the downside, and it's done on a management agreement. The tech piece and where the opportunity for anyone in the room where I think it is going as well is, where's that tech layer? Can I white label that service? Can I use my phone to access doors, meeting rooms, order food? Can I speak to all my members, etc., all my co-workers in the building, etc. Have a look at a company called Space OS. Highly, highly recommended. They're doing some great things. Super asset light, massively scalable. They're up to 1 million square feet under management already. I think quickly just say all the buzzwords. AI, definitely huge opportunities coming into the broker world, as I mentioned. Blockchain and 360s. And I've run out of time, but that's pretty much it. So hopefully that's a bit of waffle, but hopefully there's some snippets in there that you can find interesting. Thank you so much. Enjoy the weather and the rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I couldn't agree more, but you're also preaching to the choir here. I think that a quote that I love about Epicenter is that call it whatever, this is Klein, call it whatever, but don't compare it to somewhere else where somebody rents out space. Call it consulting. Just invoice me whatever you want to invoice, but don't get the real estate guys at our firm involved. It becomes very complicated. Because if you're here, and if you drive innovation, and if it's easy to recruit people, you learn things every day, and it's not more expensive than sitting in the next building, while the building is yielding twice as much revenues as it was when it was only a rental space. There's something going on, right? So for us, we believe in the ultra niche. We believe that you need to have a purpose, and you need to have something that makes you very, very different than just flexibility in the offering. And there, we want to be our part in sort of building the unicorns and being a home for the unicorns. You all know what unicorns are, right? Alexa, what is a unicorn?
Unicorn is usually defined as an imaginary creature represented as a white horse with a long horn growing from its forehead.
This is that you know. Okay. Alexa, what's the meaning of life?
A traditional answer is 42.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. No, but for many of the tech companies and the PropTech companies, the unicorn is the meaning of life. To becoming a $1 billion company less than 5 years old, privately owned. Like for instance, iSettle sitting up here on top of us, sold for $2 billion a couple of weeks ago, or other companies that are in this space. Because we believe very much if you can play with the best and if you can get inspired, then that becomes a vibrant environment for large companies, for aspiring unicorns and for others. So I'm very happy to introduce the person that knows probably most about the Swedish unicorns and why they're happening here so much and not in any of the other thousands of cities where there's also smart people, universities, internet connections, but no unicorns. So she wrote a book about it. She interviewed all these companies in depth, and she tried to figure out, and I asked her, is it genetic, is it trained, or is it maybe a medical condition? Why are these guys so obsessed by what they're doing. She's also has special knowledge because she's married with one of them, and she once described this as it's kind of like being a widow, but also part of the movie Ghost. It's kind of romantic. Sometimes he appears and he doesn't speak about business. It's so beautiful. Give it up for author of the Swedish Tech Wonder, Kina Seiler.
Jag har ingen prestation. Det gjorde jag senast när jag pluggade på universitetet och var ett tag sedan. Jag glömde vad det gjorde. Hör ni mig?
English, please.
English, sorry. Oh my god, forgot. Anyways, PropTech. Fintech, medtech, health tech, tech. I honestly have to admit that when all asked me to speak at this summit, I didn't really know what PropTech was. So I desperately Googled the term PropTech, and now I'm so embarrassed, and now I know. And I also know quite a lot, or not a lot, but a little bit about the companies that are in your industry. Super exciting. Because as a journalist on the topic of tech, my main focus has been consumer-facing companies with a software as a foundation to scale, such as Spotify, iSettle, Klarna, Truecaller, etc. And I've mainly focused on why is Sweden such a unicorn factory that is, as Alexa didn't explain, but a billion-dollar company, 5 years privately owned. The entrepreneurs behind it, and how did they do it? So that's been my main focus for the previous years, and the book was released a few weeks ago. So I assume you guys in here are entrepreneurs, investors, and real estate people in general. And I guess you might wonder what I'm doing here then, since I seem to not know so much about PropTech. But what do the companies that I have studied in common with the industry you are in? Well, I think you are all facing a digital transformation. All of us are. And also, you guys want to expand your consumer base and sell the product that you are going to sell to many more people. So, I'm here today to talk about some of the conclusions that I have made when writing this book, The Swedish Tech Wonder, Svenska Techundret. Spotify, Skype, Klarna, iSettle, Mojang, Truecaller, Aptea, Avito, and I hope you will walk away from here with some insight and inspiration. Because the question is, how are these guys? How did they do it? And who are these guys, I was going to say. And first, a few words on timing. I released this book 20th of March. And 12 days later, Spotify was listed on the New York Stock Exchange, valuation $60 billion. And approximately 2 weeks ago, iSettle was bought by American fintech giant PayPal. For me, this was obviously great timing. This is a pure, great example of good timing. But let me tell you another story about timing. Between March 31st, 2009 and April 1st the same year, that is one day, internet traffic in Sweden fell with 41.6%. And the background is, does anyone know why? Good. Because the background is, a year earlier, prosecution was brought against the Swedish young man behind the file-sharing website, the Pirate Bay, which at the time was the world's most popular website. And 1 year later, now 2009, heavy changes were made to copyright laws, and these changes were called the iPred Act. And the iPred Act changed everything. Before, only prosecutors and police could find out who a certain IP number belonged to and who was illegally downloading music from the internet. Now, also artists and record companies could. So what did this mean? This means they became super illegal to download music from the Pirate Bay. So what did the Swedish people do? Well, they left the Pirate Bay and they went on to something else. They went on to Spotify, a company that is now valuated $60 billion, as I just said, but back then founded by 2 random dudes from Sweden who wanted to fight piracy. So for Spotify, the deaf or the fail or this law meant great timing, obviously. But was it timing that meant that's behind the fact that Spotify is where it is today? Is it timing that made Skype into what it is or what it was perhaps? Or was it timing that made PayPal buy? I said that no. My answer is no. Of course, timing is great to have, but it doesn't gonna build your success entirely. There are many factors behind, and some of them have to do with our society, you know, our values, our infrastructure, the history, how we built invested in broadband very early, etc., etc. But I'm going to focus on the entrepreneurs today and what they have built and how they did it. So, why is this important, first of all? Well, these companies, they put us as a country on the map, so to speak. They make investors from abroad want to come here and invest in Sweden. These entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurs in general, entrepreneurs and their innovations move our society forward. And if we believe that the future is going to be even more digitalized, then we want to continue, we want to maintain and improve this position for all industries, not only the consumer tech industry. Okay, so what do these entrepreneurs have in common and the companies they have founded? The guys, sorry, but they're mainly guys that I've written about, at least I focused on the unicorns, have, and I talked to Ola about this yesterday, manic personalities, I said. They don't talk about much else. They live, eat, and are their brand. So what does this help you guys if you want to learn something? Well, they all know that the 10,000-hour rule exists. They work a lot. Take Klarna for instance, which is a good example in almost every example I have. They just realized that, okay, if we have no experience, we're 33 years old, okay, if we're gonna win against the banks or the other players in the market, we're gonna work double the amount of hours. So they had every single meal at the office for, I don't know how many years, but they worked like 80-hour weeks for years in order to compensate for the fact that they were young and innocent and unexperienced. Many of them have a chip on their shoulder. Not seldom these people, they want to prove something, like the Truecaller founders. They tried to raise capital, and one of the venture capitalists here in Stockholm, he said, no, you guys, you're not like rock stars. We're not like rock stars, we're gonna show them. So they worked their asses off until they were founded by Sequoia, which is one of the world's most famous venture capitalists. So how does this help you guys? Well, work hard and get shit done. Many of these entrepreneurs have winning personalities. They're like athletes. They desperately want to win and to succeed. And even if they're injured, or like in the athlete case, or even if they fail, like in the entrepreneur case, they come back over and over and over again because they love so much the feeling of winning or conquering or getting back or showing someone. So just keep on doing it. Isabella Löwengrip, who is a fantastic entrepreneur, she has started 12 companies, I think maybe 14 actually, because she probably started 2 this week. She has failed 8 out of these companies, but she just continued because she loves it so much. So I guess this teaches you that you have to love what you're doing. They're risk takers, which could be a cliche if you don't know what risk means, but in risk, what I mean at least is that you're willing to stake the whole company. You know that, okay, like for instance in the Spotify case, Martin Lorentzon, one of the founders, he listed one of his earlier company, Trade Doubler, and became sort of wealthy. All his money went into, almost, I think, his money went into Spotify. He risked all his money. He was willing to take that risk in order to live this dream. And they dare to move to weird, corrupt countries in order to fulfill their dreams. And they ask for a lot of money when they want to build and scale their companies. Maybe probably more than other people do, their competitors do. they figure out things I've written as a headline. They learn how to recruit, and this is super important. And every single person I've interviewed, maybe hundreds of entrepreneurs, not only the people that are in this book. You need to know who the best marketing manager for your specific company is gonna be, or who's the best CTO gonna be. So you need to know this, and you need to find this person, you need to wait out this person. So recruiting becomes crucial. I have many examples of this in my book. I'm not going to be able to go through this, no. They learn by doing. I just, like 10 minutes ago, I heard someone quoting McKinsey report a few years ago. 70% of young people would rather want a new boss than a higher salary. That means that a lot of people don't really like their bosses. So what does this tell us? This tells us that these people that founded these companies that I've written about, they are young when they started. They were young when they started these companies, and little did they know what it takes to build an organization. They were probably 3 people sitting at Hollandargatan here in Stockholm, and suddenly there were 1,500. How do you do that? Well, you need to understand the people that you've been hiring, and I can go talk about this forever, but I don't have time really. But what Klarna did was that, because Sebastian, the founder of Klarna, he was really honest with, he had major problems with his organization and with his closest team. And finally his wife gave him a book. It's called 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And this particular book became the Bible for this company. And it's also obvious, see the people. The young generation wants to be seen. The young generation wants to work in teams. They want to know what's in it for me, etc., etc. But the fact is that both Daniel Eke, Jakob Dier, Sebastian Siemiatkowski, all the founders that I've written about, they moved from one single person or 2 people to a company that is suddenly 1,500 or more. They need they need to be able to get rid of people and to be able to become good, to learn how to become good managers for all these people. Not easy, but something that you need to know to learn in order to become big and successful. They are and they need to be decision makers. Not all the decisions they take or make are the best ones, but at least they do them. Like for instance, when Niklas Sandström started a company, 3 days after, this was before Skype, he's like, no, this is not gonna work, and just shut it down. So they're making quick decisions, and I think that's what everyone has told me, that's one of the keys. They got high ambitions, super high ambitions. They truly believe that this caller identification app or this particular, I don't know, it's going to change the world. And they have a greater cause. They are able to convince all the people around them that this is what the world needs. They're passionate, like evangelists. And they truly want to conquer the world. Sweden is not enough. They want to change, disrupt music, banking industry, in your world, the property industry probably. And they're obsessed with the product. Like Klarna, for instance, I just say he because he's the only guy left, but he was the product organization for many years until they built the proper one, because he knew deep inside of him exactly what he wanted to do to change how we make payments online today. And they're constantly fueling the fire with new, better people, investments, and improving the product, as I just said. So just constantly one step ahead. And I remember talking to Daniel Ek, and he was like, you can never, ever, ever relax. You always have to be ahead, because otherwise it's going to be one bam, like Apple Music, always behind, but maybe soon, And as I mentioned earlier, ask for a lot of money. For instance, for Spotify, it was perfect. They had a lot of money, so they could wait out the record companies to say, yes, you are going to change the music industry, because they were quite hesitant for the first 3-4 years. Many of these guys are serial entrepreneurs, which means that they know who to call, how to do it, how to put together a pitch deck, etc. They are a team. I heard somewhere that 3 is the new 2, but as far as I know, there's still 2 that rules. Passionate, I also mentioned that already. Well, conclusion, 3 seconds to go. I don't know if you need that, but hire the best, ask for more money than you thought you would. Be a risk taker, learn to deal with investors, and set a greater cause and make sure that the timing is at least okay, right? That was everything from me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's funny, it's actually true that Daniel Ek, he was, thank you so much, he was hired at Spray 97 to make a fish pixels move in the lobby of Spray's reception. It took him 1 year to make it move, so that was his entrance into the tech industry. And I spoke to him some time ago and asked, so Spotify, what is Spotify? I said, well, you know, I thought it would be really, really cool to have 100 million users. That was my goal. And then I started hanging out with sort of Angry Birds and Facebook and others, and it's like, that's not so cool, you know, 100 million is not that many. So I said, I should have 10 million paying users, that's a lot cooler, right? And then I started hanging out even more with Facebook, and it became 1 billion and so forth. And he said, then I realized what we're really about, we're a test company, and we want to have 1,000 tests making us incrementally better, or exponentially better, that goes on all the time. So we're a test company dedicated to music, and I think that's an interesting way of looking at it. We are going to see, okay, when we hear all these things, and when we get all this input and technologies and things are going to change, how do you actually deal with that on a day-to-day basis? How do you change the way you lead or the way you try to drive your industry? So we're going to invite 3 dear guests up in the panel. We are going to have Johanna. She's from Kovel. She works with digital transformation on a daily basis, so this is your home turf. We'd like to have Maria Eriksson from Music, head of leasing. And last but not least, Heidi Kurda from HomeQ. From HomeQ, please have a seat. Yeah, so we start out with 2 minutes each about a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Johanna Holmberg. I'm from a company called Kovel. We work with digital transformation. All these organizations today that is actually not taking all the possibilities with digitalization. And how is the management going to work with that in a more, in efficiency and a more goal-oriented manner? So we are 6 owners starting this company 1 year ago. Working with 6 different sectors, 20 customers so far, so we're happy with the startup.
Great. Eddie, you're a founder as well. Tell us what does HomeQ do?
Yeah, so my name is Eddie Kurda. I'm the founder and the current CEO of HomeQ. What we do is we put the rental process for real estate companies on autopilot. So, well, that's the first process that we have begun with, but there is a ton of processes, internal processes for the real estate companies that are prone to automation. So that's what we do.
Yes, my name is Maria Eriksson. I'm in charge of the leasing group at Music Asset Management. And we are working closely to the market, me and our team, to develop and find new talent to our vacant spaces. And I have some experience from the real estate business, both from the residential side and the commercial business for several years.
So I'll start by asking, would you mind sitting here instead? Because otherwise we forget these people over here. So sorry, I should have placed you here initially. So when you heard James Appleby speak about the UK market, do you recognize that? Is there sort of a flexible co-working hype going on? Is that something you see yourself? There's even rumors that WeWork they're looking for 50,000 square, 2 epicenters here in Stockholm.
We can say from a Swedish and Stockholm perspective, in the CBD area right now, we have very, very high rent levels and very, I would say, tenants that are very in need of services. And I think this matter and low vacancy that we have in CBD will drive this co-working company ahead, I would say.
Well, we certainly believe so, that there's a waiting list here and so forth, and there's a lot of different initiatives going on. But at the same time, it's a super traditional industry. And I mean, if you meet leaders or if you meet leaders, is it easy to get them on the digital bandwagon, or is it difficult?
I think the awareness has increased the last 1.5 years. I would say it is still a pretty conservative industry compared to other industries, but the leaders in the industry are definitely waking up for sure.
Johanna?
No, I don't agree. I think it's very slow.
Yeah.
I mean, amazingly so. We meet with boards and the management, the top management team, and honestly, they have a CDO, they have some sort of agenda, but if you look into it a bit further into the strategy, the ambition, they don't have a basis, the basic knowledge and the basic understanding of what you mean with digital transformation and the new possibilities. They need to go back and do their homework much more. That's what we help them with.
But is it a knowledge problem, or is it we're fat and happy? We're doing well. We don't need that digital shit. I just sold the building. It was great.
Yeah, well, it's fat and happy problem, and I think it's about being brave as a leader today. It's not. In the future, you won't be able just to sit back and relax. You have to be on your toes, and honestly, we don't see that. Especially not here in the property management sector.
But it's both, right? So you have a knowledge deficit. I mean, when you speak to a real estate CEO and you try to explain artificial intelligence to them, maybe it's not that as easy if I were to speak to someone from another industry, okay? But the reason for them not learning is because they're fat and happy. I mean, I spoke to a real estate executive and he told me, listen, we make money in our sleep. So we sleep and then we wake up the day after and we're richer than we were the day before. So there is really no urge for them to develop, and it is a bit of a paradox, right? Because it is when you're doing well that you should invest in your future, because that's when you have the money to do it. But they will feel when the market turns around and they stop doing so well. That's when they will start to feel the need to automate processes, cut costs, but then it's too late because they don't have the money to do it.
But it's funny, I saw some quote that the people that work hardest and are most intelligent, that are poorest, are sort of data scientists, and the richest ones that are not working so hard are real estate owners. So why would you want to go from one to the other? No, but jokes aside, what are some things that you would do then if you could just decide how you would drive transformation?
Well, if you look at those sectors that has disruption, they are more eagerness to do it quite quick. And if you could actually lean on to learn more from other branches, you will for sure get this cooperation between the different sectors. So I think the cooperation and this kind of inspirational places are very good, but then you need to start your homework with doing small steps in one way or another, and I think that just just start doing it, and yeah.
But Marie, when all these new models are coming in and so forth, how do you see that the property owners here are reacting? How is the sort of local industry reacting?
I think we have a lot of startup and a lot of one-man company, and our landlords are seeing this trend, and many of them have already started up their own co-working spaces. So, but I also think that our landlords will have a big ear to the market and see how this trend going to land, and maybe see a risk of over-establishment in the coming years.
So do you think that will the market continue to go up like this, or do you see any trend shifts, or
I think it will grow in the coming years. I think in the Nordic countries as well, but maybe the landlords and every companies have to be a little bit aware to see that we're not having an over-establishment on the market.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think, it's just a matter of time, right? Everything that goes up must come down. Every industry in the world moves in cycles. So I spoke to someone from the industry, and he said, I've been in the industry for 20 years. I remember in the 90s when we had to like bribe people to rent our apartments with coffee machines and other things, and I've seen it as it is today, where we have like 1,000 applicants for each apartment that we rent out. But if there is one thing I've learned, is that everything that comes up must come down, and everything that is down must also go up. So it's just a matter of time. This industry will sooner or later face a downturn.
What was the niche that you saw when you started the company?
So
I mean, there are different services already out there, but what do you make that is making you different?
So basically, if you take a look at artificial intelligence and automation, you can divide it into 3 areas in the property industry. The first is, the assets, the valuation, the pricing, the market-related stuff. A bit about like what Gianna talked about, where to locate yourself and that. You can apply it in that sense, but you can also apply it in the sense of the actual asset, the real estate. You can automate the regulation of heat, of electricity. You can build in a lot of stuff in the building. But the third segment is the internal processes. And we felt that the two first areas, they had a lot of attention already, but a very few companies talked about the internal processes. And we went out to these real estate companies and we saw like, okay, this company, who is now a customer of ours, Balder, they have 50 people just working in their organization with renting out their apartments. And it was a very high frequent process. They did it like 2,800 times per year, and every time they did it, it basically looked the same. And we were like, oh my God, why are they doing this over and over and over and over again? Why are they wasting so much resources on it when this is one of the easiest things to automate? You don't even need to go into deep neural networks or machine learning. Just start with automating repetitive processes. And that was why we began doing this.
Okay. Jana, if you wake up on Monday and you are the CEO of a large real estate owner, what are some of the things you would do?
Well, I would look into what you see right now with in-between segments that is coming in the market. Like, I might be a stone and concrete owner. I might be a Volvo producer of something that somebody else will distribute to the end customer. Or what is my, the long-term future for my company? And how would I connect to the end customer and listen to the customer? That would be my major problem or a possibility to start to work much more closely with. I think I would focus on that.
It's kind of interesting because when I've been renting spaces for companies over the last 20 years, it's been the same conversation. What do you do? Not really listening. This is the square meter price. Do you want marble on the floor?
Right.
So it's been a very sort of one-sided interest, right? Whereas when we started Epicenter, we went the other way around. We sat down with our AMF Real Estate and we said, who would you want to have as guests? Oh, it would be good with Google and Microsoft and the banks. And okay, let's ask them what they think is important. I want you to know what they think. They said, well, we want to recruit the best people and we want to have drive innovation and we want to be digital and we want to be equivalent. Okay, so we asked, who do you want to recruit? And then we asked those guys, what do you want? And nobody said, I want to be CEO and have a corner office. People spoke about purpose, about lifelong learning, about having fun, about all kinds of other things. And this was co-created and filled in 6 weeks.
And the easiness of you doing that, like contributing to a place where everybody could check in with their IDs and just add on the time-sparing function of something doing like this, that's what we're going to see more about. So I think you have to find that kind of, listen to the customer and find the easy solution in between. That's where you have the growing parts, I think, in the future.
You have, you're doing an innovation lab here with teams from us here as well. I don't know if you've been part of the lab yet because I'm not involved in that myself, but could you tell us what you know about that and how's it going? Or?
Yeah, I have not been actually a part of it, but I was here for a couple of weeks ago and listened to the groups that had made an idea from the new idea from step one.
Your internal colleagues, or?
Yes, my internal colleagues to the last end, and it's very interesting to drive the whole process for a new idea to the end. And it's also a very good place to collaborate and to have a networking with both the colleagues and the clients from different markets. So I think it's a good innovation thing. And I think also it's good to take part in this innovation lab to have the clue and be a part of the business coming on in the company. So I think it's good.
And it's also really cool because we run labs for the different sectors, for health with Merck, for banking with SEB, and a lot of different labs. And usually people say this to us: our industry is very, very traditional. And some of my colleagues are not super creative. I don't know if they like this at all. That's not for them. And then you see when people get the chance to create and to drive their own ideas and not have a boss tell them to do something else, how people grow and they do really, really amazing things in a short period of time. And then they go back to the office and then they keep on asking, why shouldn't we do this tomorrow instead of 6 weeks from now, or after a business plan, or after the board meeting in September? And that becomes a really, really cool life. Finishing up, our time is running out. What is most exciting right now?
Wow, a lot of exciting stuff going on. But like I said, I think automation of internal processes and using the data that's being generated, that will explode in the coming years.
Well, actually to succeed in helping all the organizations to start their work, I think it's fantastic. There is so much more to do. So I think it's amazing. It's good to be able to work with the organization on the edge to transform their business and seeing the goals and the efficiency and the movement around that. So I think that's the movement we see in this room and in the organizations. I think that's fantastic.
I think it will be very interesting to see this situation on the market with a very low vacancy. This cooperation, co-working company are right now occupying 150,000 square meters. So it will be exciting to see what's happening with the market.
Great, so thank you very much for sharing, and you're going to be around here. I want to invite you up again, Magnus. We're going to get some different, so thank you very much to the panel. Thank you. We're going to have some more perspectives.
Absolutely. When we started the Nordic PropTech initiative, one of the most common questions is, how do I learn more about PropTech and how other companies are doing and all the new startups and so on. And one of the best ways to do this, besides Googling and start reading, is to actually visiting different type of tech events and connect to different types of environments like outside of Sweden. I think that's a very good way to learn. And in order to describe this, the landscape slightly better than just giving you all the names and all the different fairs, I've invited 2 representatives. So let's start with Sophie from MIPIM. Welcome on board.
Hello. I'm really happy to be there. First time for me in Stockholm, and really happy to see the weather. My name is Sophie, I'm based in Paris. I work for the MEPIM events, which the MEPIM can, in south of France, is the largest international real estate event. I'm specifically working on innovation and PropTech topics for all the MEPIM events we have. And I'm really happy by the invitation of Magnus to be here to present to you the new event we're gonna organize in Paris within 3 weeks actually, specifically dedicated on PropTech. This topic, which is why you are here today. We have to say that we started with New York first last year, because the North American market is a bit ahead compared to Europe. But now Europe is mature enough to already to learn and meet with very dynamic PropTech startups. So basically, what are we doing? What is the proposal of the Nordic PropTech is to gather the
and the industry thinks that this has to be taken forward. So we received a seed money to continue this work of Kira Energy. We're going to call it Kira InnoHub, and it's going to be part of the Nordic PropTech community. So we're going to build and create a community of our own in Finland. So anyone who wants to come and try their own technology in Finland, we're gonna give you the map to the Finnish market. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure if you know this, we open up Epicenter in Helsinki on Mikko Katu number 9 in October. We'll have an Epicenter there as well, coming close to a capital near you soon. We also opened up in Amsterdam 2 weeks ago and announced New York yesterday. So Epicenter are happening in different places. The next speaker is one of my personal inspirations and favorites. Some have seen him before, the ones that did want him back again. He's had a shitty day because he lost his passport, lost his flight to Israel, lost the wedding, was happy it was not his wedding, so it's kind of okay still. So we're going to give him a lot of love today. He is a remarkable serial entrepreneur. He's been part of starting Skype, he's been part of building incredibly ambitious vision, failing with them, succeeding with them, always with a snug smile on his face. He is the coolest Danish person ever alive. He'll tell you a little bit about his history, some of what he's doing right now, and I think hopefully a lot about the future that is coming towards us as a freight train. He's none other than Morten Lund. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to allow me to talk about myself, my favorite topic. So I'm kind of an entrepreneur, or maybe I'm just an ADHD guy who went good. So I started when I was thrown out of university. I started an advertising company with my best friends because we watched. You're old enough to remember Melrose Place? Some of you guys, yeah. We watched that, and Amanda had this advertising agency with a lot of hot chicks, so we thought we could replicate that in Copenhagen. And we were very lucky. My partners are now married to all the chicks. And then we sold it in this strive when Johan Stoll von Holstein and Icon Media Lab was worth. Can it really be true? Ola, he said yesterday that it was worth 44 billion Swedish kronor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all remember those times, yeah. But we were lucky to sell our agency because I always partner up with really smart people. So my partner said that we shouldn't sell to Icon or to Framfab, we should sell to an advertising company with real value. So we got quite some money when we were 26, 7. And I started an incubator. I had no idea what I was doing. It was just, I could read in the tech press how they did it in the US. And this was a time when venture capital didn't really exist in Scandinavia. Johan Stoll tried with Spark, or whatever he called it. But then at one point, our advertising company worked with Tele2, and that was actually the reason we could sell the company, was that we had Tele2 as a client, so we were very happy with Sweden. But there was also these two very strange guys who worked for Tele2 called Niklas and Janus, and they kept pitching me to invest in their music sharing strange thing. I didn't really understand it, but luckily I didn't invest because it became Kazaa, and it became the biggest digital lawsuit in history. So they were sued by, it was the record industry against Niklas and Janus. But I was just the business development guys. I basically sold the advertising to the porn companies because nobody else could do that. And then at one point they started talking about these lawsuits was a problem. So one concept we had was an idea of sharing a Wi-Fi network. They wanted to call it Skyper, but that was a bad idea. So all the VCs said no. And then there was somebody, Niklas, I don't remember who who said that we had these enormous phone bills because we had to talk to lawyers all over the world. So maybe we could put a sound codec into this network, this whole peer-to-peer network, and then we could talk via the computers. But that was not an obvious idea, and that's what we always have to remember with ideas, because at that point the computers didn't have a sound card. So you had to go down and buy a sound card and put it in, for those who remember, and that shit never worked. So we also pitched that to 40, 50 VCs. That's basically what I do. I'm a sales guy, so I love picking up the phone and getting a no. But then, with magical reasons, we chose to call it Skyper, and they invited me in to invest, but I was not really believing in the idea, but I did pay their rent, so I got some shares, and I'm super lucky, so I got rich again. And then I chose to invest most of that money and leverage 10 times to build a newspaper that could come to every Danish home before 7 o'clock in the morning. And that was extremely successful. People read it, and it was the biggest paper. But then came 2008, and I lost everything I had. But I didn't lose my energy, and I didn't get fired. A lot of people got fired, so I still felt lucky because I knew how not to do a newspaper. But then I had to focus and see how to make some money at least. And I like to, so I'm not an analytical guy, but I like to find find industries that are open for disruption. And of course I had a lot of self-confidence when it comes to disruption, because Skype took 40% of all international phone minutes in 18 months. Imagine it was a lot of money we took out of the economy somehow. The problem was then we had all these lawsuits again because we had 20 dictators suing us because it was their brother owning the international phone company. So with all that knowledge, despite not being that old, 10 years ago I sat down. I was a little bit sad that I lost everything, but it didn't really mean a lot to me. But I saw that fintech was obvious because I looked at what we did in the consulting days, and every bank has a budget about a billion Swedish kroner just for IT. And that's because everybody's an idiot. And the technology was old. So I thought maybe we could do something there. And yesterday the company we formed back 10 years ago called TradeShift became a unicorn. So I'm very happy with that, actually. But I was a little bit relentless because selling to governments and doing electronic invoicing was so boring, but it was obvious that it had to come, and we could also play the green violin a little bit because we could say that we were saving the world for a lot of paper. And how stupid is it actually also that we're creating an invoice digitally, printing it, sending it to somebody who should type it in. I mean, makes no fucking sense. So it's now 10 years later a unicorn, and I'm now the father of at least two, or the stepfather of 2 unicorns. And then I thought, 5-6 years ago, what is another industry where people are absolutely lame? And it was so obvious that it was properties. It was the easiest thing I've ever found out. And then I thought it was because everybody's kind of cheating each other, so the developer tries to cheat the construction guy. Everybody's like nuts. And then there's a real estate broker in the middle. But I found a number that kind of backed up my stupid thesis. And the number is simple, and you all probably remember it after today. So we looked at productivity. Remember the Intel guys who did the chip in 1976? They can be proud of what they've done. So you all have a supercomputer in your pocket now that would 10 years ago cost $40 million. But they did some math and said, if a Beetle, the car, would have followed the chip, it would now have been able to drive 460,000 miles per hour and could run for a lifetime on one gasoline pump. Yeah? But in PropTech, in property and in construction, the efficiency over the last 20 years has only been 1% per year. It's an efficiency gain that is nearly negative in a technology world. So yeah, I don't go too much into it because it's lame. But then I thought maybe we could do something. And I called some of my architect friends and said, what if we could build something modular? If we could somehow take a container, a structure like a container, put in some technology room for cleaning and taking care of water, air quality, all the stuff that seems to be very difficult for the technology, for the property world, but is obvious in the whole IoT world. We would probably need a little bathroom. We would probably need somewhere to sleep. And then we went nuts and said, hey, we can produce these in different modules. We can prefabricate, we can transport them, we can assemble them, and we can make them into hotels or hostels, but they can be temporary. And then we got this idea that we could pop them up anywhere, and we, of course, bought some of the best pixel guys to animate this, because this shit doesn't exist. That's the crazy part. But it looks good, yeah? And then we found out we could also put other backgrounds, so it could be a Burning Man or a Northern Light. I mean, nobody would know if it was real. And people still don't know. A lot of people call me to try to visit this stuff. But then the architects in Denmark, because we're so lucky to live in this country, or in these countries with this welfare, we forget it. Take a deep breath and think about if you have this passport of these countries, nothing can go fucking wrong. The Prime Minister will pick you up, yeah? Even if you're gonna, no matter what you do. So we thought maybe we could get some of these architects who have way too much time to think and probably smoke way too much weed, and ask them for a concept that so we could pop up anywhere, and remember it's still not existing, but mostly important that we could leave without a trace. Because we have a little bit, for those of you who are as old as me, we have a little bit of a guilt trip going on. If you think about tourism, how many people here have been to Mallorca? Yeah, everybody, skinny guys, yeah. But remember, even 10 years ago, there was an article in the news about people swimming in their own shit. Because the guys with the hotels, they just put the sewage into the bay where you were swimming. And my parents, it's not me for sure, but my parents' generation they probably raped, because they came there as tourists, they probably raped Mallorca a little bit. Because tourism has historically not been nice to the areas where it's been hyper-developed. So if we could put it up and leave without a trace. Of course, a lot of property developers told us that they have some land, they're waiting for some zoning, so they also want our streets in to get yield from the land. But then we thought maybe we could name the sizes like clothing. Why not? It's much easier to understand what size you're buying, and we killed the small one. We can't sell one at a time. And by the way, we don't sell it, we fully finance it and set it up in our dreams. So we could pop up anywhere, and then these guys, who apparently had too much time, they came up with another brilliant idea that we could do a city film. And all that I'm talking about now doesn't exist, but we've sold franchises in 15 countries, and we're soon at 2,000 units sold. And we don't know how to produce it. We'll fix it. We'll fix it, no worries. And then they made all kind of beautiful renderings. They took a picture of the harbor in Hamburg, and when we showed this to the mayor, he wanted 2 of them, of course, because it looks beautiful. And then any clever listener here will, of course, say, if you want to leave without a trace, and if you want to follow this, because I'm from advertising, I invented this idea that anywhere can happen. Sounds good, yeah? But it comes with a problem. If anywhere can happen, people still have to shit and pee. So we had to invent a system so that we could also do the utility in a smaller box. And normal utility is something with a big factory outside the city for the electricity. There's another big football fields of concrete cleaning all the water that we're using. We're using about 120 liters per day per person. And here in Scandinavia, we're totally nuts, because every time we flush these 8 liters of water, we flush drinkable, beautiful water. That's fucking lame. So we found out a way to actually create electricity, water, sewage, and all the service that we needed using the solar, the sun from the rooftops. And I'm coming back to that. But more interesting, they came up with a super sexy model. Again, they must be smoking a lot of pot at these architect agencies. So they came up with the idea that we could use frames, and then we could, of course, again, clad it in whatever tone you want, because all these guys who had the land, they had wives with crazy ideas. So we said, oh, go fix whatever your wife fucking wants. And we can have it in different colors. And then we can also go away. So apparently I found out, without studying anything, that nobody wants to look at a container. So now we don't sell a container, and we don't call it container, we call it modular homes. If you say container at our place, at home in my office, you have to take 10 push-ups. So we have different cladding so that it can look as you want it, but also a little bit more stylish, and it can fit into nature. It could be a chrome, so that you can't see it, or it could reflect reality. It could be solar panels. And then they came up with this idea that we should do global factories, because you guys in this industry, how many of you know Saint-Gobain? I never heard of them, but they can apparently deliver whatever you need anywhere in the world on time. They don't want to give us credit yet, but come. So if we take it, find a little production guy who has a CNC iron metal machine, then they can just use this manual, and we can have production all over the world. That was not so crazy, but what really ticked me, and especially in China, they love this part where we take up the big marketing violin and we say we really want to do something for the environment, which we do. But imagine if it was not a product. Imagine if we had a cycle, so that we would take this unit, split it into atoms, find out what's organic and what's recyclable, and then in a beautiful loop we can assemble, we can deassemble. The car industry has done this for many years. They at least told the story. I've never seen it happen. But then we would have this beautiful circular loop. And before you start crying, I will show you what it turned into, how it looked on video when we got a super. Oh shit, there's no network. When we got an Icelandic woman to speak a little movie for us. Then we managed to take it into a Pixar style universe. Let's see.
What if buildings could simply pop up where you needed them? What if a city was never more than a month away from solving a housing crisis? What if a vacant lot could be turned into a designer hotel overnight? What if you could suddenly live where no one had ever lived before? Pastel Pop-Up is a new design system that allows people to realize big ideas in a matter of months. Designer houses, stylish condos, and luxury suites can literally pop up without delays, bureaucracy, and red tape. They are made to keep up with the pace of a city, to solve problems and seize opportunities, and to integrate the latest in technology and arts. It's buildings that won't be old before they're built. Buildings that don't have to stay when they are passé. Pastel pop-ups are democratic and responsible. They are designed to make the exceptional affordable to more of us, and sustainable for all of us. It's suites for the people.
Little socialism.
The pop-up movement will be introduced to the world as a chain of designer suites available for rent through Airbnb. Everyone with a taste for adventure will have an opportunity to pop up somewhere completely new. And anyone who owns a piece of land can become a luxury hotel owner overnight. It's a new approach to architecture, but who knows? It might lead to a new culture of living, a pop-up culture. Because with pastel pop-ups, anywhere can happen.
It's at least the finest in advertising. Yeah, and I still get emotional about it. It's crazy. So what happened then? It's always funny on these clickbait. Yeah, So basically, we want to report to Mother Nature. We want to do things right, and since we didn't know how to build this yet, we asked Rumble, and they were super happy. They were even co-financing some of it. And then, while I'm talking, these deals are signed. We're just waiting for a mayor to get bribed or whatever we need to get the permits. But they're all live in the next 6 to 9 months. It's absolutely nuts, and remember, it doesn't exist. But this is real. I'm not bullshitting you. It takes a long time apparently to click through it. But this is happening, and then we, because my partners are so good at sales, we also made another little bit of a dogma for ourselves. So we don't want to build in ugly places. We only want to build in the most beautiful places in the world. So Puyen will open very soon. In Korea, we will open down in the Gangnam area. We have Denmark, the most beautiful woods, where we'll be coming up with some crazy tower that these architects, think about what they do. So we will be integrated in there with our suites. And it's already pre-selling. So we launched this on some website, and people are now constantly trying to book it, but we don't know how to build, so we can't ask them when to book. But it's happening in another dimension. We will be coming up in the most beautiful place in Spain as well. And then I got this crazy idea to make it work at scale. Imagine, so these ships, since I'm Danish, I know way too much about Maersk, but there's 9 of these ships lying in the harbor because there's nothing to transport. So I'm pretty good with Keynote. So I made a small dynamic Keynote where we can change this. So let's say we want to put in 5,000 units. Then, bingo, you can see here how many jobs we'll be creating, bar jobs, how many room coaches to clean, how many square meters. All of this is coming out automatically, and the guys from Maersk, they were at least not sending us back, because we generated, even though the cost of construction is nuts, the profit to the operator is actually pretty cool. He will, just from operating this, you can make $72 million. It's absolutely nuts, and it kind of works, we think. Let's see. So another thing that really is on my mind is the fact that we as people we're a little bit too selfish when it comes to believing this crazy idea of consumerism. I don't really understand why we're not doing more for the environment that we have to. Some of us will actually be living another 80 years, even though we are already old. And we're polluting the planet in a dimension that I really don't understand. And starting with the fifth element, and I'll make you cry again now. I went all in, so I more or less isolated the sales of these units that doesn't exist with my team. And then I've gone super deep in on creating this
sustainable power, water, and utility system for 10 households could pop up anywhere. Off-grid independence to live wherever you want. Yeah, there's that. But it's also very good business. We needed to solve the power, water, and utility for Postal Pop-Up, a new upscale housing concept invented to live anywhere, all around the world, even completely remote. And what we came up with is the fifth element, a sustainable off-grid utility pop-up, generating power from solar panels on the Postal rooftops. With a clever water and utility system that both recycles water, generates new water out of thin air, and handles all sewage. Starting from a standard 40-foot shipping container, the setup is 4,000 liters of efficiently stored black water, or sewage, 8,000 liters of grey water for recycling, 4 80-kilowatt batteries storing all electricity from the panels on the rooftops, with a humidifier generating 2,000 liters every day, and lastly, 12,000 liters of fresh water capacity. Everything you need for power, heating, cooling, water, and utility. everything you need for living. Now, of course we will supply all postal suites as they pop up around the world, because that's what we set out to do. But just imagine the opportunities from here on, handling all kinds of events and accommodations. Student housing in fast-growing regions, aiding help workers in disaster zones, supplying light and electricity in refugee camps, or even rapidly improving living conditions in developing countries, all in one package, ready to pop up wherever it's needed. The fifth element, sustainable off-grid utility pop-up.
So, because I have this ADHD, I just created this company as well, and we're selling a ton of these boxes. If you have a land, or if you want to buy a franchise or be involved, feel free to contact us. We would love to do something in Sweden, because we think Sweden is unfortunately a little bit better than Denmark, but mostly because you created ABBA. Thank you very much.
Just this trip gave us this unforgettable presentation. Think about what you can do with Portugal, or maybe take him on a date or something. He's going to stay the night here. Yeah, some food would be nice. That was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you very much for inviting me, as always.
And the cool thing about this is, if you are this ambitious, people that are as ambitious get excited and want to do things with you. Investors that are so ambitious want to do things with you. So ambition breeds ambition. But how do you top that? How do you get even more ambitious than that? Or more on the verge of being a vision or a hallucination? Or as a psychologist described this, being very visionary, standing on the edge of the cliff without jumping in, right? So the next speaker will do exactly that. He's heading up business development for one of the most exciting concepts in the world, the Hyperloop. So please, without further ado, Rodrigo Song, welcome up on stage. Very welcome, very welcome. I think most of the people here have a seat, are quite familiar with Hyperloop. But I think, should we start with the video, so getting everybody on the bandwagon?
So just before that, as I was telling the guys earlier, when I first met the Hyperloop co-founder, he told me that transportation, as we know, is broken. And when he was telling me about all the hustle that we have, the pollution, the problems that we have with getting people sick because of pollution, not only that, but also how many people are dying every day in car accidents is unbelievable. And then we also see how we are still trying to get that solved and using other kinds of transportation as we have today. That was a couple of weeks ago somewhere in the world. And we still think, no, but that's not a big deal. Actually, if you go to a developed country, then we find a different situation, but we still find the same as we see there in London. Brazil, I was there right now, I'm still a little bit jet lagged, but still that's what you find everywhere. And it's funny because there are some places where we say, no, but that's a different way that we use energy, that's still a lot more environmentally friendly. There are places that they actually try to solve the problem of the metro, and it's not funny what we see every day, right? So how many people here know about the Hyperloop? Okay, good. So I'm just going to show you a little video that shows what we have been achieving, what we have been doing the past 4 years.
The world is at a crossroads, at the brink of a historic breakthrough in mobility. Connectivity is everything, and now we are ready to connect people by a new form of transportation. It's called the Hyperloop, a system that moves people and goods on the ground at and beyond airplane speeds. And since 2013, Hyperloop Transportation Technologies has been at the forefront of making the Hyperloop system a reality. And we're building today, utilizing a combination of existing and new technologies, including vacuum systems, magnetic levitation, linear motor systems, automation, and renewable energy. Our Hyperloop system will be both high-speed and resource-efficient, with a safe and comfortable experience for passengers and cargo. Our system is designed for departures every 40 seconds at a maximum speed of 1,200 kilometers per hour. It is capable of moving 164,000 passengers on a single line in one day. Hyperloop TT's technology breakthrough is a next-generation passive magnetic levitation system. It's called InductTrack, and it's revolutionizing transportation. Neodymium magnets in a Hallback array enable passive levitation over an unpowered but conductive track, and as capsules move through the low-pressure environment, they use very little energy en route, thanks to the reduced drag forces. The InductTrack system was tested and validated on a full-scale passive levitation track. Hyperloop TT improved the technology and optimized it for a low-pressure environment through testing in our prototype. Beyond InductTrack, our tech has already yielded 27 patents, with further development taking place in our innovation hubs around the globe. To build this extraordinary system, Hyperloop TT has assembled an expert team of over 800 engineers, creatives, and technologists with unparalleled experience. We're also partnering and co-developing with the best companies in the world. Atkins, AirGS, Leibold, Carburas, Pacadar, Priestman Good, and Talgo are among the 40 best-in-class partners that are part of the Hyperloop TT core team. All have decades of engineering and manufacturing experience in critical industries like tunnels, tubes, aerospace, aeronautics, vacuum pumps, and pylons. The combined experience of our partners gives us the power to leverage decades of development and save millions in research. That's why our system is already feasible and insurable, according to Munich Re, the world's largest reinsurance company. The original Hyperloop company is about to bring the world closer together than ever before. Hyperloop Transportation Technologies.
That's it.
Good. A little applause. Where are you today? As Morten said, this doesn't exist, but what exists today, and how far are you come with testing these things?
So, in the past 5 years, except for actually 5, we just had a birthday. In this past 5 years, we created over 30 patents that we are now starting to license to countries like South Korea, Germany, and the UAE. We invested and created 2 innovation hubs. One focused on passenger, that is in Toulouse, and the second focused on cargo and freight that we just kicked off in Brazil. And we also announced 2 months ago, as you can see in the video, the construction of the first full-scale prototype that is going to be a demonstrator of a 1.5 kilometer Hyperloop in Toulouse in France. And most recently, we signed a historical deal in the United Arab Emirates where we're going to build the first commercial line.
Between?
So that's, we signed with Aldar, that is one of the biggest owners of properties and land in the UAE. And we're signing, we are creating to connect between Al Ghadir, a new property that they're developing, to Abu Dhabi. Yeah. Of course, there also there that we did during 9 extensive months. We did a full-scale full feasibility study with the government of Abu Dhabi and Atkins, where we could get to the results that is actually feasible and profitable.
And how fast will it be? 1,200 kilometers per hour. So give me a sense of scale, so I can then live in Helsinki and study in Stockholm.
So I mean, with that technology, the technology that we have, we can go even above 4,000 kilometers an hour. But it doesn't make any sense because
About
4,000 kilometers an hour. But it doesn't make any sense because we're talking about security. In cases where we're analyzing projects like in China for the One Belt One Road project, that we could do it for over 1,000. But in most cases, it doesn't make sense to go above 1,000. So we're going for the 1,223 kilometers an hour. Yes.
Yeah, and how do you think that will change sort of the world and the cities and whatever? So what would London to Paris be? It would be like
so
20 minutes or something.
Yeah, it's interesting this question because when we talk about this speed, the most important thing is about sustainability. Our company is focusing a lot on producing energy, so we actually produce more energy than the whole system consumes. So we can get that energy and go back to the grid of the city. That is also one of our monetization models. But when we look at routes, we first look at the habits of the people around it. And we also try to be as close as possible with the city for their master plan and what they're thinking for the future. because we need to be considered very soon as possible, right? So we have now cities that are actually considering the Hyperloop already in their master plan for the next 20 years, and that is unbelievable. So we're focusing on routes that will give you, let's say, 15, 20 minutes back, but in the routes that you actually use for 2-3 times a day, instead of going for the long distances. So right now our focus is up to 300 kilometers. We're talking about that's what we're looking for.
And what would that be then? My math is not with me. 300 kilometers. How fast would you do that?
So it depends actually, because we try to go as straight as possible, but there are routes that you need some curves, sometimes extreme curves. That affects the total speed, the average speed, and affects also the size of the capsule. So, for instance, the capsule that are being built right now in Spain by Carburis, that is the same company that manufactures the structure of airplanes for many of the companies out there. We're talking about 30 people, but we could get to 40 or 50 people on a capsule. So there are routes that we're talking about that we see that would be 750, some 800, some 400. So it depends a lot.
But it's kind of like a bus rather than a train, even though it's always compared to a train, right?
Well,
it's a capsule.
It's a capsule.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a capsule. We like to call it. We prefer to call it a capsule. Yeah. It's that is also an interesting point because when we started the project, since the beginning, safety was #1 for us. So we applied and we challenged the system through all the perspectives, from road, from aeronautics. So that's one of the things that we have been very, let's say, conservative.
But how does it feel then to be in Hyperloop? Is it like, and then you're there, or is it you don't feel it? Do you feel any G-forces or something?
Yeah.
Or?
The other day, somebody asked me, because when I explained the technology behind it, Richard Post, that worked with Einstein in the Livermore lab in LA, in the US, he created this technology called passive magnetic levitation. And when we released our white paper, right after Elon said he didn't want to, him and Michael that designed the project for the first draft, Michael joined our team and we all started. When we first released the white paper, there was a lot of scientists coming and proposing some ideas how to apply for it. And Richard was one of the first of them. And he said, you know what, I have this technology here. It's kind of, it's actually for a military use that I invented, and it's applied for stabilizing bullets inside of cannons. So people are like, so that's what's going to happen to me? So that's what's going to happen? You're shooting me inside of, well, it's sort of, it is. But no, I mean, what we feel, our chairman will usually say it's going to be kind of boring actually, because it's a matter of acceleration, it's not a matter of speed. So you can go to, you can reach the speed light, and if you have enough time to wait and be patient, you won't even feel it, right? So I live in, I moved to Dubai to follow the project there in Abu Dhabi for the past 1.5 years. And I always take the A380, and it goes to 1,000 kilometers an hour, and I didn't know. And yeah, so it's going to be very comfortable. Yeah.
What are some of the things that you think will change in society if Hyperloop is widespread? Like, take it 20 years ahead in time. What are some of the things that I mean, when somebody invented the T4, then the whole cities changed, and families moved outside, and urbanization changed. What are some of the things you see will happen there?
So I see way beyond the Hyperloop as a system, because the vision of the Hyperloop is to bring to humanity the most advanced mobility mode of transportation. So right now we're trying to deliver the Hyperloop, the system, but we want to make sure that we have a seamless and frictionless mobility. So when you push a button, it doesn't matter which agent will pick you up and drive you somewhere else, go into a Hyperloop tube, fly you somewhere else, and take you to where you want. And that has to be frictionless. So that's what we envision.
So just to get this right, you're also seeing that you might be managing car fleets or having relationships? Or
No. So our business model is one of the main reasons why we have been able to get this far. So we designed the system, We are an integrators of the technology. So as you saw, we have over 45 of the top companies that are specialized in vacuum pumps. In levitation, we already have it. But for the capsule structure, the pylons, we're not reinventing the wheel.
No.
So we integrate these technologies and then we license. So we don't operate at all.
What could go to hell?
What could go to hell? Well, I think that in many industries, a lot of things could go to hell, right? One of the things that we're looking very closely, and it has been a challenge for many of the industries that are trying to have exponential technologies, is cybersecurity. So that is one thing that we're looking very closely to make sure that this is not a big deal.
Very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to follow. And for the ones that want to dig down a little bit deeper, you're also going to present upstairs at the terrace in about a half hour. Here, in roughly 10 minutes, time for coffee and a leg stretcher, we're going to have the last summit, one of my favorite summits, because it's about leading digital transformation. We have top management from Spotify, and we have other interesting people coming from different industries sharing their pains and gains in digital transformation. But I've been sitting in the audience as well as a little bit up here on stage on this summit, and I learned a lot, and I got very, very inspired. So thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you, Morten, and everybody else that contributed. And thank you for being in the audience. And I hope the conversation continues outside and tonight at the bar as well. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we will start here in about